Hello everyone, this is Joe5 and welcome to the Comic Central Toy Review, and today we'll be looking at the 2010 release by Hasbro of the Iron Man 2 action figures, and we'll be looking at the Comic Series release of the Crimson Dynamo. I finally got this figure after waiting for so many months for Toy Us to release this, and this character, the Crimson Dynamo character, is one of my favorite characters in the Iron Man comic storyline. At first he became a villain, and then he became a good guy, and then some other guys wore the armor and then became a villain. You know, it keeps on going back and forth. But the character itself is a Soviet Union, a communist Iron Man version. Yeah, that's what I really like about this character. Now, you got the figure, and you got the snap-on energy blast that's supposed to snap onto the helm, and you got the file card there, and on the back here you got the base stand, and here at the back you got a little bit bio on the character Crimson Dynamo, and you see the snap-on energy blast on the head. Finally, an I-beam, a proper I-beam. Well, I remember a Wolverine Origin Cyclops has a proper I-beam too, but that one's a bit too flimsy. Anyways, you got the other lines. This is the comic version of Iron Man, the first armor Iron Man, the comic version of the gold and red armor, and also another comic version of the stealth operations. Very nice. So without further ado, and I already rambled for long enough, let's open up this packaging so I can molest the toy. Be right back. And we're back after removing the figure and the rest of the stuff out from the packaging. Let's take a look at the base stand there. Now this is the base stand, and there's a peg there so you can fit it at the bottom of the feet of the figure. There's two holes. And as mentioned before in my previous video on the Mark 1 comic armor, this section here, they didn't put any names into it, but it seemed to be designed to be allowed to put a name into it, but apparently they didn't bother to, so that's kind of sad. Here you got this section here, this slots. There are 3 slots to fit each of these cards. Here you got the base card itself, which shows the torso. The second card shows the legs, and the third card shows the arms and head. When all combined, they don't form into Captain Planet. However, it shows the stats, which I have no idea what it meant. But the funny thing about these cards is you can mix and match with the cards. And looky here, Crimson Dynamo torso and legs, and he's wearing, well, the Mark 1 armor, arms and head. It's a nice touch, actually. I find this quite entertaining. At least there's something. Here we have the snap-on energy blast. It's a translucent purple plastic which is quite soft, as you can see, and all you have to do is just, you know, slide it on top of his head up to his visor there, and look at it, it's blasting. Bzz, 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 bzz. Very nice. Now, since his left hand here is a closed fist, let's try an experiment. This is the Mark 1 armor blast, repulsor blast effect. I wonder if it fits. My god, it actually fits. Huh. Look. Bzz, bzz, bzz. Look how Crimson Dynamo gone, well, crazy and start shooting everywhere. Interesting that you can actually, well, swap around with this type of stuff. Okay, enough with the with my foolishness. Let's take a look at the figure. Now the paint job, I really like it. I'm kind of hoping that it's not such a dark red color. A little bit brighter would be nicer, just like in the package. But it still looks nice. It looks very menacing in this kind of color, and it looks very shiny. Not much to talk about the paint job because it's mostly red, and We got some lines here. None of the paint job is smudged, and the visor is quite nicely painted, as you can see. It's orangey like color, so nothing to talk about, but it's quite shiny. I like shiny. Articulation for the figure itself, as you can see, the head is quite loose. You can see this, right? Very loose. But on the other section of the head itself is quite tight. See? Can turn the head 360 degrees. Can't pivot the head up and down though. There's torso articulation, but there's not much of a difference, as you can see. You can hear the tightness of the joint itself. I mean, no matter where I turn or try to pivot, there's some pivoting, a little bit pivot action going on. But you can't turn the torso. Might as well give a waist joint, right? But still looks great. Arms can turn 360 degrees and spread the arms all the way up, like so. But due to this bulkiness of his torso area, so his arms doesn't close all the way in. Now the elbow can bend this far and go all the way 360 degrees. Wrist joint can turn 360 degrees. Now the hip joint is also something I really hate about. It's a ball and socket joint. So whenever you want to turn, because it's pegged into this fashion rather than straight, so whenever you want to turn the legs, you have to turn the ball joint and the thigh joint. As you can see, it can bend this far due to the bulkiness of the armor. The swivel thigh there, double jointed knee action, and ankle can turn 360 degrees, pivot downwards and a little bit upwards. Sculpt for this figure is really nice. He, well, indeed does look like in the appearance in the comics itself. It's very nicely done. Really shiny. I really like the sculpt. I really like this, old school armor from in the 80s, during the Cold War and all that stuff. So he's not bad, but it's just the neck joint is quite loose, and there's not. It's like having no torso joint at all. You can actually pivot back and forth a little bit, and I don't like the hip joint, but I really love the sculpt and I really love the paint job. And good thing about this figure is interchangeable effects and cards. I don't really like that. So if I'm gonna give a rating of this, it looks much more better, far more better than this. Okay? And if I want to do a size comparison, look at this. It's taller. So he's menacing. It looks great. I'll give him a 7 out of 10. So this is the end of the review. Thank you all for watching. This is Lucy05 and I'm signing off.